And I'm back again, folks, straight away, and it's only half an hour, let's see, now 45 minutes since I did the last post, and here I am again. But news, as I said, is hitting us fast, and it's all important news. And so what I'm going to talk about, Starmer's deal. Yes, Sir Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, British Prime Minister's deal over the phone with USA President Donald J. Trump. So they got together over the phone to thrash out the last details of the trade agreement, the tariffs, and what they've agreed is presented to us from two different factions. And so it's confusing what is happening. But I'll give you the first conclusion and then I'll follow it up immediately by the second conclusion as to how this deal affects the British car industry. Okay, now that's the important question, isn't it? How does it affect our car industry and all the thousands of jobs that are employed there? And they claim to have a vacancy of 17,000 jobs if we can keep the trade deals going and the tariffs lowered. So this question for the first conclusion is by Georgia Pierce. And she said in her question, she puts to us, the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer's new trade deal with the USA could trigger a funeral for Britain's car manufacturing industry. It has been claimed. That's what she says. Announcing the historic deal via phone call between the two world leaders, USA President Donald Trump claimed that the agreement is a great deal for both countries, with Sir Keir Starmer hailing the boost to trade in Britain and across the pond, he puts it. It's a big pond. The deal includes significant reductions in tariffs on British automobiles, slashing duties to 10% on the first 100,000 cars exported and shipped from Britain to the United States. However, any UK-produced car imported over the 100,000 threshold will face, she said, a 25% tariff instead. Actually, 27.5%. She's got that wrong, but still. Casting doubt on the deal, US journalist Hadley Gamble claimed that the deal wipes out the profit margins for car manufacturers in Britain. Well, of course, 10% on a car takes away their profits. 27.5%, or even the 25% that Burr said, wipes out totally the incentive to make cars. Gamble explained, Jaguar, Land Rover, Starmer was there at the Jaguar and Land Rover plant, and you saw the faces of the folks standing behind him. They didn't look very enthusiastic. It was a funeral. And why was it a funeral? He goes on to say, because this is a company where essentially it has a 6% margin, profit margin, right? And we're talking about a 10% tariff. So essentially it wipes out the profit. Totally, doesn't it? If you've got a 6% profit margin and the tariff is 10%, well, and then if they're selling it more, it's 27.5% or the 25%, if I'm going to be disputed. Gamble added, and they've also capped it at 100,000 cars. Last year, they sold 101,000 cars in the United States. I believe it was 102,000, but still, what's 1,000 between friends? So they're basically saying that this company that can no longer grow in America. Emphasising the deal, how the deal far better benefits the USA than the UK, Gamble told host Martin Dubney that Donald Trump is celebrating several big wins for his nation, following the announcement of the deal and the new Pope Leo XIV. Gamble said, it's an incredible deal for the United States. This is a week of big wins for the USA president, and obviously he's got this win on the trade deal. But also look at the optics of this. If this had been a big deal, a great deal for the United Kingdom, Sir Keir Starmer would have been in the Oval Office, taking his victory lap. He wasn't. He was back here in the UK. Offering a defence for Sir Keir Starmer accepting such a deal, Gamble suggested that the Prime Minister had the option of either taking a bad deal or no deal at all. Over the barrel. Just over the barrel. Gamble stated essentially you had very, very little choice. To be kind and clear about Sir Keir Starmer here, he had a bad choice or no choice at all, because you either went with this or you didn't get a deal at all. So I'm assuming that was his thought process. But that doesn't escape the fact that this country, that's in an industrial decline, at 2 times the rate of the United States. This is a country now facing this wealth exodus of billions of dollars, which is a cost to your economy, the UK economy. She concluded, so he's trying to do something. That's clear, but what he has done has essentially not been good for the UK. However, now the good news, that was the bad scenario on it, but other people thought differently, and I'm going to give you those now. Some I've put you down, I've dragged you down, oh, we're lost, and now I'm going to lift you up, okay? However, experts across the automotive industry have welcomed the announcement of lower tariffs on cars following a bombshell trade deal between UK and the USA. US Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick confirmed that the UK would see a tariff worth 10% on 100,000 cars imported to the USA, down from a lofty 27.5%. What did I say? It is believed that any cars sold after the 100,000 quota will face the 27.5% tariff, which could cause issues with around 102,000 cars, and now I said 102,000, didn't I, exported last year to the USA. Commenting on the new tariffs, Tom Jervis, consumer editor of the Auto Express, said the announcement was timely, but would only provide limited relief to a struggling industry. He noted that some manufacturers, like Jaguar, Land Rover and Aston Martin, had already paused exports to the US in response to initial tariff announcements in April. Jarvis added Keir Starmer has, in the last few months of his premiership, attracted some rightful criticisms. However, this latest development is certainly something to be applauded. So, good news according to some, and bad news according to others. Experts from across the automotive industry have welcomed the announcement of lower tariffs on cars following a bombshell trade deal between UK and the US. So they're putting a good spin on it now, aren't they? You know, we've put down. Suddenly, it's a bombshell trade deal. It's gonna be good for us. You know, it will provide limited relief to a struggling industry. So, who do we believe? Who do we believe? Well, we'll go and have a look a bit more, shall we? Sir Keir Starmer and the US President Donald J. Trump held a phone call this afternoon to outline the terms of a new US trade deal, which has been hailed as historic. Wow! The announcement focused on improving trading terms between the two superpowers, as well as tackling some of the President Trump's controversial tariffs. So, Britain and America, two superpowers, and Donald Trump's tariffs are controversial. US Secretary of Commerce Howard Lutnick, I mentioned him earlier, confirmed that the UK would see a tariff worth 10% on 100,000 cars imported, down from a lofty 27.5%. Prime Minister Keir Starmer and President Trump unveiled the historic tariff deal earlier today, Reuters claimed. It is believed that any cars sold after the 100,000 quota will face the 27.5% tariff, which is an issue as we exported 102,000. Carrying on the new tariffs rates, Tom Jervis, consumer editor of the Auto Express, said the announcement was timely. Yes, What have we got? Have we got anything else I can tell you on this story? Oh, yes, I have. Speaking at the Jaguar Land Rover plant in Howard this afternoon, Sir Keir Starmer said the quota of 100,000 cars under the 10% tariff was not fixed, leaving the door open to further negotiations. Mike Horses, the chief executive of the Society for Motor Manufacturers and Traders, praised the announcement, saying the reduced tariffs were great news for the industry. How are they great news if you're making 6% profit and you've got a 10%? He said the application of these tariffs was a severe and immediate threat to UK automotive exporters, so this deal will provide much needed relief, allowing both industry and those who work in it to approach the future more positively. Really? Jaguar Rover, which hosted Sir Keir Starmer at the Howard plant, said the tariff deal could save consumers hundreds of thousands of pounds. Now, I don't understand that, because we're talking about the tariffs in America. So, are they saying that if they didn't get this tariff lowered, they would put the price up of cars sold in England, in UK, in Ireland, Northern Ireland, in Scotland, in Wales? And so it saves us hundreds of thousands of pounds? Because he does say the consumers. Anyway, CEO, Chief Executive Officer Adrian Mardell noted the car industry is vital to the UK's economic prosperity, sustaining 250,000 jobs. We warmly welcome this deal, which secures greater certainty for our sector and the communities it supports. Well, the Institute of the motor industry also said the deal would bring much needed certainty for UK businesses, but failed to address the skills gap battering the UK, with more than 17,000 vacancies across the automotive sector. Well, I mentioned that earlier. So what are we going to make? What are we going to make of this? Is it doom and gloom as suggested at my first part of my post? Or has the British car industry got a bright future? Your comments are always appreciated. Do make your comments. And if you like these posts and getting the news before anybody else, then subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you a penny, it doesn't cost you a cent, it doesn't even cost you a rupee. It's totally free. And subscribe, like, and comment. I'll be back later with another post. But until then, be good, be safe, and goodbye from DJ. Bye.